Okay. So I know I'm going to seem like I'm kind of like running down a Dawa script here, but you know about Numbers 23:19, right?
Yeah.
Right. So Numbers 23:19 pretty much says, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said and will he not do it? Has he spoken and will he not make it good?
Right.
And I know that this is not like saying that, oh, God can't become a man or that he's like not a man or anything. This is talking about his character. Like he doesn't lie like men do. He doesn't need to repent like we do. Right.
Hmm.
So I kind of wanted to focus on that second part where it says that he should not repent because I was up on my own live and they
Yeah.
brought up,
Genesis 6:6 or
you know,
Exodus 32:14.
Jonah 3:10.
Jonah 3:10. Oh, that's different.
Yeah, it says, then God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God relented from the disaster that he had said he would bring upon them, and he did not do
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so what I did was I was trying to look at like the Hebrew or something to see if I'm kind of like missing something
Hmm.
uh, in the Hebrew word for relent.
It's Naham.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to get help with, right? I'm trying to like maybe I'm missing something. I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing because
Yeah, of course, bro. Yeah, so Jonah 3:10 is related to Genesis 6:6 and Exodus 32:14, which is the common verses that people bring up about relenting. Um, so if you look at the different translations and the different English translations for Neham, you'll see relent, you'll see repent. Um, I think those are the two most common. I think there's like one or two more.
Mhm.
Um, if you switch to the different English translations. So whenever you see English translations using different words for it, they did that on purpose, and it's usually an indicator that you need to study the Hebrew word a little bit more. Um, if there's not a common ground or a consensus on a word throughout the English translations, there's just like different ones or whatever, or there are a variety of them. That means the word was not easily translated into English. So there's not that word, that Hebrew word is not like a direct translation to any other word. It needs a little bit more explanation. So that word naham means like it means like to feel sorry, or is kind of like what I think the Hebrew lexicon will explain it. But really, the best way to describe it is to say it's almost like God calmed down, or his emotions were put to a halt, or etc. It's anthropomorphic. It's not a direct. It's not to say that God actually is experiencing that exactly the way it's being described. But what it's doing is it's doing the best it can to describe what God is doing. So, for example, right, um, in Exodus 32:14, he relents from giving the disaster to the Israelites because the Israelites just were just did the golden calf, and they just disobeyed God and His commandments already, and He was about to wipe them out. But it says that He relented after Moses interceded for them and said, "Hey, remember the promises you gave Abraham. You told him that the seed of Abraham will come through them, etc., etc." And then once that happened, God relented. So what essentially happened is God's emotion and His justice was about to unleash. However, when he allowed Moses to intercede for them, and then when he interceded, he continued to keep his promise and not wipe them out, even though it was just. So he basically calmed down and turned away. This doesn't mean that God makes a mistake. This doesn't mean that God regrets. This doesn't mean that God is functioning like a human whatsoever. This is once again just anthropomorphic language in order to describe on human terms as far as what happened in this situation.
okay, yeah, it's kind of just been about.
And bro, let me tell you something.
Mhm.
It is um, Jews and Christians. I mean, this is one of the most what probably the oldest complication or challenge of the Bible, I should say, that's been
Mhm.
around. This
Yeah.
has been a question that Jews and Christians have had for centuries, right? Um, but yeah, that's what. it's really not a problem because we do understand that understanding God from a human level, we will never fully understand how he functions. Anybody who believes in a God or a creator or one creator should at least have that understanding, especially Muslims, right? But this is anthropomorphic. This is not saying that God ever regrets or repents from sins or anything like that. This is just saying that he had he had he had a right to be just and angry in that moment, and then turned away from it and decided to go otherwise, um, because because of his promises and because he is all good.
Right. Yeah. I just because people normally bring up the numbers 23:19 to try to show that God
Can't
can't
be
be.
a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But then I explained it to them, and I got to the part to where it says he doesn't change his mind like we do. Like we are always changing our minds. And then they hit me with Jonah 3:10, and I kind of just got stuck. So I really
Yeah.
do appreciate you for explaining that to me because that was bothering me for quite a while.
Yeah. And hopefully it was easy to understand, but it's not an easy topic. But um, you don't you shouldn't expect non-believers to just take that answer because it's one of the things that it's one of those things that you would have to trust the text, or the Bible, or God in general, in order to um, be able to understand the real answer. Um, but it is what it is. You just got to do what you got to do with it. Same thing with Genesis 6:6. By the way, Genesis 6:6 is like he repents or he relents or regrets. It says those are the three very common variations of it. It's talking about the evil of the world intensifying to the point where he's going to move forward with the divine flood, right? The flood for Noah, where Noah's Ark comes, and it's not a regretting as a like, oh my gosh, I wish I never did this. It's more of like a grieving of like his emotions. Once again, his emotions are high, and it's a grieving because he never intended for humans to have as much evil as they have.
Yeah.
So once again, it's a description of his emotions.